Well,
All
Steve,
right.
I wanted to say this before we got to Luca. You guys are tied with that division lead with the Giants right now. Let's say you guys don't end up winning the division. You're drafting in the top 10. You don't like Cam. Dak re-signs with the Cowboys, and one of those quarterbacks, fall to you in the top 10. Do you think your Washington football team takes a new gunslinger?
I think so, man, because I don't know how much real other talent there is. I haven't looked at the draft coming up to know how much real talent there is at positions that they need. But I did take a look at that quarterback position. If they do end up not making the playoffs and they fall to a point where they're in the top 10, shoot on that quarterback 100%. Just take a chance. One of those three guys, if they're there, which I doubt any of the three might be, take a chance.
I like it.
Okay, so my team has probably been rebuilding for the last 10 years. And, it's a tough one here in Detroit. So, first off, we need a head coach. Matt Patricia clearly wasn't the answer. And I'm looking at this team, and do we go a defensive-minded head coach? Do we go an offensive-minded head coach? Going with a defensive-minded head coach, it didn't work out so well. But I'm going to do it again. I'm looking at the Baltimore Ravens, Don Martindale. I think he's a great fit here in Detroit. He's been with the Ravens for 3 years, guys, since 2018. They have yet to average giving up more than 20 points a game. So I think that's going to be pretty good for a Detroit Lions defense who has been pretty abysmal in the last couple of seasons. Right now, they are second worst in the NFL when it comes to points per game, and they are allowing 29. Last is Dallas. We don't know about them. The Jets have a better points per game average than Detroit. And the Chargers, who just lost 45-0 to a team that Cam Newton threw for 69 passing yards. That's all he had in the game. And they got blown out 45-0. That defense is having a better year than this Detroit Lions team. So I'm going to go with Don Martindale. Of course, he has loaded talent there in Baltimore, and that helps him out a bit. But I liked what I saw last week. Nolan, we touched upon this last week, how they didn't really practice much, and they still locked down that Steelers team. I thought he did a pretty good job. I think his leadership would be really needed there in Detroit. I'm going to hire him. On the offensive side of the football, Matthew Stafford, I got to give him some credit. I mean, he's been doing it with basically nothing since Calvin Johnson left. He's actually been playing better, you can argue, since he's gone. That's how good I think Matthew Stafford is. I think he's an elite talent in this league. I was looking at Eric Bieniemy. I really was. But I think we need to go and address that defensive side of the football, and I'm looking to the draft. You look at Baltimore's staff, you look at Baltimore's defense, their secondary is great. They lost Earl Thomas. He was an elite safety a couple years ago. They shipped him out, and they're still a great team. Really hard to pass on. I'm looking at the draft. I'm looking at Alabama's quarter. Nolan, help me out with the pronunciation here. Surtain, is that his last? Surtain? Sorry, what? You're on mute, buddy.
Surtain.
That's it. I like him. Every time I watch him, he's popping off my screen. He can make tackles, and if you put him opposite of Jeff Okudah, that is a young, great secondary. And usually when you're hiring or you're drafting players, you got to look at guys in your division. And in that division, talk about receivers in that division. You got Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, who look like a great 1-2 combo there in Minnesota. Then you go and you have Devontae Adams, and you got to defend him when you have Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball. And I know Chicago's a mess, but Allen Robinson, he's no pushover either. So you're going to have to need someone to cover him. You can't just throw Jeff Okudah on every single receiver. He's just his first time in the league. So I think we get two young corners. I think it'll really solidify the back end. The pass rush still needs some work. They signed Trey Flowers a lot of money. Every time someone goes to New England, there's always a team that bites and pays them more money. Just like what this team did with Trey Flowers, just like this team did with Matt Patricia, and just like the guy I'm replacing right now in Bob Quinn. All three of those guys came from New England. And Jamie Collins, he comes to Detroit not planning out the way Detroit wants. You can't expect him to have the same success because Bill Belichick, guys, we know he's one of the great offensive minds in history. So it's hard to replicate that. So I'm thinking if you're looking at this team, hiring a defensive-minded head coach to solidify the defense, because Matthew Stafford, you got to give him some help. Guys, they've scored 20 points in every single game this season, but one, and they have a losing record. They've scored 20 or more points in every single game. So the offense clearly is something that I don't think I need to address. I don't need to panic so much. Darrell Bevell, he's done a great job. He's come in. He's been the intern head coach. Brett Favre said he's a brilliant offensive-minded head coach. And when you have a guy like that saying that this guy has potential like that, if I move him back to offensive coordinator, the team seems to like him. Marvin Jones said, I'm liking him. I'm having fun again. So obviously the chemistry in the locker room is there with this head coach. I'd keep him in the locker room, put him back to offensive coordinator. He can just focus on the offensive side. And now Don Martindale comes in. He works on the defense, and we can get this thing rolling back in Detroit. But it's hard, guys. The NFC, it's always a dogfight every single year, especially that division. Minnesota, they're not playing up to standard, but they're still a heck of a football team. And we know about Green Bay. We know about the defense in Chicago. If they can get a quarterback, it's a competitive division. So I think I need to solidify the defense by bringing in Don Martindale, drafting the kid out of Alabama, and just going from there. Matthew Stafford, I still have him for now. I'm going to do whatever I can to protect him if I have to sign another offensive lineman. I think their offensive line is pretty good. I think it's good enough. They've got their run game going with DeAndre Swift. I know he's been hurt, but they drafted him. He's showing some great potential. Kenny Golladay seems to be hurt a lot, but if he can, maybe fix that up, maybe draft a receiver later in the rounds to give some more depth to this team. I think Detroit, it's not hard, guys. It's not hard. What's the worst part of your defense or your team? It's the defense. Try to do something to help their defense. They're putting Jeff Okudah on Julio Jones, and they're putting him on Devontae Adams. You can't do that. You can't do that to a rookie. I know you have high hopes from him. You're just going to diminish his confidence, and you just can't do something like that. His second year in the league, he's going to be better. Bringing in a corner like that, it's going to be a young secondary. You see what they have in Baltimore. They have Marlon Humphrey who can make plays, and they have Marcus Peters. So if you have both of those two guys in Detroit, I think Detroit can be back to being a respectable team. I'm not going to say I can fix it all in, one off season, because I don't think I'm that good. I don't think I can even do it in Madden. But when it comes to real life, I think if you solidify the defense, this can be a more respectable team.
Those are all great ideas, guys. So we covered